Hey, all you guys and ghouls, welcome to another GalaxyCon Live, where we are bringing the convention experience into your home. And today, guys, we are joined by the director and writer of Terrifier and the upcoming Terrifier 2, and we also brought along Art the Clown himself. Okay, so since this is a Q&A, I urge all of you watching right now to come up with whatever questions you may have. And I talked to them backstage, and it seems like nothing's off limits here today. So whatever questions you may have, now is your time. Start typing them in. And I also have to remind you, there are still opportunities available to purchase group chats and one-on-one chats. So in order to do that, all you have to do is go to GalaxyCon.com. There is also video shoutouts and autograph options. So I believe we're ready. It is my honor to introduce to you the writer and director of Terrifier and, of course, the upcoming Terrifier 2. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Damien Leone.
Hey, what's up, everybody? What's up, Heather?
Hey, how you doing, Damien?
Doing well, thank you. How are you?
I am fantastic and about to get even better because, Damien, right now we are about to introduce the star of Terrifier and Terrifier 2 and the man behind Art the Clown. He is the fantabulous David Howard Thornton, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey!
I like that. Fancy.
Hey, how are y'all doing?
How are you, David?
What's up, buddy?
Good. Can't complain. How's everybody else out there in, horror land? Oh, wait, I can't really hear them right now, so they're all probably talking to their monitors or something like that. I don't know. Oh, God, I'm losing my mind already.
Well, yeah, it's all right. You're allowed to lose your mind a little bit. You are Art the Clown. So I just wanted to thank you guys so much for joining us. This is so awesome because obviously we're all apart, but we're joined together now for this. You guys have all of your fans in the chat room. I wanted to start with something maybe a little different. Damien, you post a lot about people that ink their bodies permanently with your character of Art the Clown. So I want to know, what is that like for both of you to see these images forever portrayed on human flesh?
It doesn't really sink in. It's the most surreal feeling imaginable. So it's just the biggest honor. When I see it, I can't believe it's happening. So I have to give those people credit and try to express to them just how much that means to us. Like, I want everybody to see it. I mean, that's a huge deal to put this clown on your body. And I mean Dave the Clown. But for real, it's amazing. It's a dream. We have such amazing fans. They're so dedicated. And the last thing we want to do is let them down, especially with part 2. So we're trying so hard to deliver,
Well, speaking of your fan base, when you were funding for Terrifier 2, you created this Indiegogo and you surpassed your goals. So what is that like, knowing that there is this huge Terrifier fan base just dying to get their hands on Terrifier 2 and wanting to be part of the movement?
It's huge. It also, because the industry is changing so much now, and like one of the hardest things to do is to raise money independently to make a movie. So if we do satisfy the fans with the film and with the perks, and we do have trouble down the line, funding the movie through third parties and stuff like that, it would be amazing to keep going through the fans and having them be a part of this experience the whole way. I mean, we give them some really awesome perks, and they come in and they're in the movie and they're getting killed, and we hang out with them, and it's the coolest thing ever. Like, I was just talking to you before, like, we really become very friendly with the fans, like really close. Like, my buddy Trevor, I met at a horror con, and he gave me this shirt like a year ago, and I just told you, like, this is the first time I get to wear it because he told me he was going to be tuning into this. So Trevor, I love you, buddy. Thank you so much. So
shout out to Trevor.
Yeah.
Woo-hoo!
Now, David, was there maybe a day on set with some of these fans that stood out to you more so than any other day?
I would say it was a whole entire week because we had a lot of our backers, and I think that was the most fun week we've ever had filming either one of these films. It's like everything, and it was the scene that we were all stressing out about filming for so much because there's so much that happens in this scene that could go wrong. And it's like, but it went the opposite way, and I think it was a big part of it is just that the energy that the fans being on set, it just made us all happy. We had some people, even while we're doing bad things to them, they're smiling away while we're doing it. We're like, well, you can't smile or you're dying.
That's true. There are a couple of we had to do a couple of take 2s and 3s because they're dying with smiles on their faces.
It's so funny because they were just so excited, and that got, I think, everybody else so pumped up. And I mean, we were having long hours doing these scenes, but I mean, it was just fun. It was just like, I think they brought a whole new kind of wonder and energy to the set that week. So that was a blast.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. Yeah, it was like a bit of an event shooting that scene. It was like something else. It was almost like a separate movie. It was like a short film we were shooting.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was amazing. We even wrapped on time. I don't know. Everything just went right. I don't know.
What?
Yeah, it was wild.
So, David, what do you think sets Art the Clown apart from any other cultural horror icons?
I think it's his personality in a lot of ways. It's a different type of personality because you're used to these like kind of charismatic villains, but usually those villains talk. Like Freddy Krueger and Chucky, they never shut up. And Art's the total opposite. So it's just like he's a blend of all of the elements that I think are in all the great slasher icons that have come before him. There's a little bit of every single one of those guys, and I think that's what adds to him. It's like he's the ultimate horror slasher fanboy in a lot of ways.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And when you first read this character, what kind of what was going through your mind? Were you given any direction during your audition? Did you know exactly who you wanted Art the Clown to be, or did Damien guide you along the way?
It's a little bit of both, I would say. I mean, first of all, I had a great foundation that was laid out for me from the get-go with Mike Gianelli, who was the original Art the Clown in All Hallows Eve. It's actually his birthday today, too, which is awesome. So it's like, happy birthday, Mike!
Happy birthday, Mike.
Yeah, but he laid such a great foundation for me to start with. So like when I went in for my audition, I went back and watched some of the scenes from All Hallows Eve just to refresh my mind because I'd already seen the film before, but I wanted to really just get the basic nuances of the character. And so I was like, okay, cool. I know where to go with this, but I also was like, I want to add my own thing to it, kind of like how Kane Hodder added his own thing to Jason. And so then I thought, that's how it was with Kane. He added more of physical nature to the character, and that's what I want to do with Art, was add more of the clowning aspect to him. And luckily, Damien and I had that great relationship on set where it's a lot of give and take with the two of us. We play off of each other very well. Sometimes he knows exactly what he wants me to do down to the very, the eye twitch I'll give or something like that. Or sometimes he's like, let's just play around with things and see where things go. So I think it's fun in that regard. There's a lot of room to just experiment.
For sure. And Damien, the first time that you saw David audition for this role, did you know right then and there that this was your Art the Clown?
Yeah, pretty much. We didn't see many people because most importantly, I was looking for just the physicality that I wanted because, like Art, especially when Mike played him, like Mike's not an actor, didn't have to do much except just like go through the motions, just sit there, smile, very specific pieces of direction, but it wasn't as theatrical as Dave made it. So when Dave came in and he was doing his mime, clown, Joker shtick, it was really refreshing and cool to see. And you knew instantly, first of all, he had the physicality that I wanted. So I was like, as soon as he walked in, I was like, this guy would be perfect. Let's see what he's got. And then when he, flipped that switch and he's cutting off the head and pouring salt on it and tasting it, skipping out of the room, me and my producer, Phil, we were just laughing and nudging each other and like, that's pretty fantastic. So when he left, it was like, we're not going to get much better than that, if better at all. So I was like, let's have him come in. We'll do a makeup test. That's the next important thing. Let's throw the prosthetic on and see how he looks. And that was it. We saw about 10 people maybe for art. I mean, it was pretty clear cut that it's going to be Dave.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And obviously Terrifier, and I'm sure Terrifier 2, is known for the incredible special effects. And I was wondering for the both of you, if there was a special effect from the first movie that stood out to you. And then I also want to know if there's a special effect from any horror franchise that stands above the rest to you guys as well.
Oh, wow. Well, while you're thinking, Dave, I will say that clearly the hacksaw scene is the scene to be remembered from Terrifier. I got to give a lot of credit to Phil Falcone, our producer, because he pushed me as well to really make that look as realistic as we can. You know, there was because at first I wasn't even sure about really showing like a wide shot of him cutting her the whole way down. And I was like, we could probably get a mannequin from a store, and I could kind of like take it apart, put the joints back together and bloody it up. You won't really tell. He's like, no, we got to go full on. He's like, you can do this. Like, let's make bodies, real silicone. He's like, I want to see the whole thing. So like he really, and like it's in there. You really see Dave cutting through that whole body, and it's jiggling and moving, and it came out pretty awesome. So I'm very, very happy with the way that came out. There's so many effects in movies. I would say, I mean, still till this day, the American Werewolf in London transformation by Rick Baker is just stunning.
You took mine.
Sorry.
I got a second one in mind, though.
I could come up with a lot more, but I mean, that's still stunning till this day. It'll hold up for the rest of time, in my opinion. So
yeah.
What do you got, Dave?
The top of the
Yeah.
As for me, I mean, it's there's always the hacksaw scene, but I mean, one of the things that really impressed me was just the amount of details that Damien would put into these prosthetics, especially the heads, all of them, all of the heads I dealt with. Every single time I was like, oh my God, look at this. And a lot of that doesn't even get picked up on screen. Like, the head I'm stabbing into in the pizza restaurant, Eric's face. It was just like, Damien put layers under this thing. I was expecting it just to be some kind of like mushy styrofoam head underneath, and I was like, oh no, there's actually muscle layers and like blood that would ooze out, and I was like, oh my God, man. You have all of these things that you built on top of each other. It's like that's incredible. That's going above and beyond what you usually see, and especially with the budget we had, and that's what I was really impressed with. I like the smashed face for the morgue scene from the exterminator. I was like, good God, you only see it for a hot second, but like really going to look at that thing on set, I just stared at it for a long time because there was so much detail in that.
Thank you, man.
I loved it.
I appreciate that, but I just want to say, you just said it, like for a hot second you see it. Now imagine it took me 2 months to build that head, and I'm the editor, and I still decide to put it in there for half a second. That takes a lot.
That's the thing, is these things people don't like, or even like when I popped off the head for the decapitation, I so that little bit of flesh just dangling off the end of it. I love it. It's just that's the little details that really make it stand out, because it's not CG, it's something real, intangible, and I love that kind of aspect to it all. As for I would say my second favorite practical effect, I really loved a lot of the stuff they did in Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, especially the marionette puppets. I thought that was so cool. All the sinew and all that just being stretched out like the
That's a great choice. I like
Definitely.
that. Yeah.
Okay, so before we get to some questions from the viewers, my final question for you guys is, Damien, how long did it take for you to conceptualize Terrifier 2? And David, what was it like for you the first time that you got to read the script?
Honestly, I don't know for sure, but it was pretty fast. I want to say, I had a lot of the ideas floating around already. I would say when I finally really got to sit down and just focus on nothing but writing the script, I think I did it in probably 2 or 3 months. So yeah, it was pretty easy. The hard part was cutting a lot of stuff out. It was actually even bigger than it is now, it's huge. It's too big. I mean, I'm gonna have to cut a lot of scenes out of the movie probably because it's gonna be too long.
Well, then do it cut.
I'm sure. But yeah, no, this one flowed pretty well. I had a lot of fun writing it. It's a really cool story. But yeah, it was fun when I finally. I don't know, Dave, you may have been the first person to read it. I'm not sure, either you or Phil, but I had Dave come over to my apartment to read it, and I just went on the other side of the room, and I was just watching him like a creep while he was reading it to see his reactions. Like, go ahead, Dave. So you tell.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was a little giddy little schoolgirl reading this script. It was so much fun, and Damien could tell exactly where I was in the script. We know each other that well. He could tell by my different laughs what I had gotten to in the script. Yeah. So it's oh my god. I mean, I think this script blows the first one out of the water in so many ways. It's so much more of a cohesive story being told, and we've really developed some really fantastic characters. I mean, our female lead that's in this is like, I love her character so much. I love her little brother because he reminds me so much of myself at that age too. And I remember saying to Damien, I'm like, oh my god, this is like written like a real kid. This is not like your stereotypical little gee willikers, Full House type of kid that you usually see in these type of films. And that's what I like about this, the whole family unit in this. It's not a perfect family, and I think that's what's really cool about this. It's very real. Like Damien writes really good dialogue that's actually like real dialogue that people will have with each other, and I think he surpassed himself in this one.
Oh, thanks, man.
Awesome. But now I really want to see Art the Clown show up at the Full House.
Oh, I know. You got it, dude.
Sorry, Bob.
That's coming up after the Scooby-Doo episode.
Yeah.
The Scooby-Doo episode.
All right, so we're going to start bringing up some questions from the Q&A. So let's get the first question up here. So Gail wants to know, and I'm assuming this is to you, Damien, how did you come up with the idea for Art?
Wow. Okay, so I tell this story all the time. So he was the first official short film I ever wanted to make, which was going to be my calling card as a filmmaker, was called The Ninth Circle. I shot it on 35 millimeter back in about 2005. And it was like, I wanted to put everything I had, like all my skill sets in it, like as a filmmaker, as a special effects artist. So I was really just it was like a showpiece. So I was really writing in all kinds of creatures, everything that I loved in horror movies growing up. And I really always loved clowns. And I had this idea, completely separate idea, of a woman coming home from work or whatever one night in the middle of the night on like a city bus. She's the only one on the bus, like in a bad neighborhood. It comes to a stop. And all of a sudden, it's not even Halloween, a clown gets on and just sits across from her and just starts toying with her the entire way. And it starts kind of like playful and strange. And then it just starts getting more and more aggressive and weird and trippy until it starts becoming violent. He tries to, stick her with a needle. I don't know where the idea came from, but it was just there. I didn't know what he looked like or anything like that yet. So it started there. And then it was like, okay, I'm going to put that, into this short film. That'll be the opening. But then it was, what does this character look like? And at that time, the only real popular clown was Tim Curry's Pennywise. So I said, he's so huge. He's the king of clowns. So there's no way I'm going to go anywhere even close to that. I don't want to step on his toes. So literally, I did almost everything the complete opposite that you can do with those characters. So colors are different. One's bald, one's not. One uses weapons, one doesn't. One speaks, one doesn't. So I say this a lot. I owe a lot to Pennywise for how different Art the Clown is, how unique he is, I guess. So
awesome.
Yeah.
All right, let's bring up this next question. From Kate, how was the special effects makeup for Art the Clown done?
So you take a life mask of the actor, and then I sculpt the prosthetic in clay. You take another mold of that, clean out the clay, and then you pour. We use gelatin for our prosthetic. So you pour every day you need a new prosthetic. So because when you take it off at the end of the day, it gets destroyed. So we've gone through in Terrifier 2 maybe like 35 prosthetics, and we're still filming with Dave. So this is like unprecedented amounts of prosthetics for Art the Clown. So yeah, that's how it's done. But funnily enough, so I love the way that the sculpt looks in Terrifier on Mike Gianelli. When we casted Dave, I tried to resculpt it multiple times, as best I could to match, and it just never quite matched, no matter what. I even did some really sort of weird transfer methods that are like really obscure methods where I was able to like get that prosthetic onto Dave somehow with the live cast, but it still came out like too thick where you can tell it's not the same thing. So we actually used the Mike Gianelli prosthetic for Dave, which is really difficult to glue onto Dave because they don't have the same face. It's made for Mike's face. So that just makes it more of a pain in the ass for me. Just one other thing I have to deal with every day. But I mean, that's how we retain the look of him from All Hallows Eve, basically.
And how often, Damien, is a writer and director also doing special effects in their own films?
It's pretty rare. Pretty rare. It's very, very difficult to direct a movie. Very, very difficult. And to do the special effects on top of it, it adds, at least 6 hours to my day, which is a lot. I mean, and these are 18-hour days. So like sometimes they're 24-hour days, like I'm up, so it's really tough, but you do what you got to do, what's best for the movie. We tried to hire outside makeup artists for this one. And like 3 weeks before we started shooting, they pulled out, and there's like, it all fell on my shoulders, and I just had to pick up the slack and do it. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Damien, you need a nap. Or you deserve a nap.
I do. Yes. Thank you. Yes.
I don't know how he keeps his sanity during all this. I really don't.
True. All right.
I don't.
you hide it very well.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like Damien is the most mild-mannered person on set. It is so funny. Like there'll be chaos happening everywhere. He's just kind of sitting there, just going, "Yep."
Listen, it's too stressful. At any moment, everybody, there's just too much stress. There's like the clock is always ticking. Every second that goes by, it's like money, and you're going to lose your location. Your actor's got to go home, and it's just so much stress. It's like there's no point in adding any more to it, So I try and be the most, keep the lightest attitude on set. We're there. We're making a movie. We're at the end of the day, you're having fun. You're playing pretend, for God's sake. You're lucky. So that's my outlook on it.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
All right. Here's the next question from Phoebe. How do you prepare yourself mentally for a scene? And what do you do to wind down and bring yourself out of character? That's a good question.
Well, luckily for everybody involved, I'm not one of those method type of actors. So I'm not in character all the time on set. I'm one of those actors where, especially once I'm in makeup and everything, I can turn the character on and off at a drop of a hat. So that's no problem for me. As long as I know who the character is in my head, I can take maybe a second or two just to, get my angry face on or something like that, I like to say, and then I can just go straight into it. And then they say cut, and I'm just back. I can drop them immediately, and I'm back to joking around and stuff like that. So it's something I've always been able to do ever since I was doing theater. I was one of those actors. I could just be having casual conversation off in the wings, and I hear my cue line to go on stage, and I'm just right on stage in character.
So do you feel that your theater background had a big part in your creation of Art the Clown?
Oh, definitely so. I definitely tapped into a lot of that because I grew up doing a lot of children's theater, and there's with children I did a lot of comedy, and children are more into the visual type of humor than the verbal humor, and they love physical comedy, they love slapstick, and I put a lot of that into art.
Definitely. And if I remember correctly, the last time we spoke, I think you mentioned some of the people that you admired was it Charlie Chaplin?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think
yes.
that definitely shows in your creation of art. Just your stoicness and everything about it is so perfect and so brilliant.
You learn from the best and you adapt. That's what I always tell people to do. Learn and then adapt. Make it your own.
Dave, when in Terrifier 1, when I noticed something you did that I would never imagine Art the Clown doing or whatever, it was in the pizza, and this is Dave's Art the Clown.
Mm-hmm.
In the pizzeria scene, after you give Jenna the ring,
mm-hmm.
and then like you pop up and then you just skip down to the bathroom. Like that's just totally Dave doing his theatrical clown thing that I never ever imagined. I mean, it was like one of those things that's like, yeah, you know what? I probably should make him a little more clowny. Like I didn't really like that for him. Like, cause in the first, there's really nothing clown-like about Art the Clown in All Hallows Eve or the original Art the Clown. Like he just looks like a clown, but he's not funny. He doesn't really do anything. I mean, he's got funny antics, but again, he's still, like you said, he's very stoic and he's very cold and like still a lot of times in the first one. But that's what Dave brought to, you know, the new Art the Clown, and that's what I try and put a lot of that in as much as I can. I try and inject a little bit of that clown nature as much as I can. Remind myself, yeah, he should be a clown. He should be funnier. I mean, especially once Dave came on board, we consciously made Art a lot funnier. He does a lot of goofy things, but you know, it's like a rule that we always have to make sure that we go back. First and foremost, he has to be terrifying and sadistic. So he can never be too funny. He can never be too goofy. Like once the joke gets right to the edge, it's like we have to pull back and remind people that, yeah, we're fucking with you. It's like you like him, but you shouldn't be rooting for him. Like he is terrible. He's absolutely terrible, and he would kill you. He would kill you and your entire family in 2 seconds.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's true, and I think that's what like adds more to the character, because like he has those moments where he's fun and goofy in those type of ways, but then he has those moments where he just turns on the serious mode, I would say, and that's like you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's like, oh, you messed with the hat, you're gonna die.
Don't mess with the hat.
Don't mess with the hat.
All right, here's our next question from Matt. How much ad-lib was there in Terrifier, and were the ad-libs kept in? I guess this is kind of a good follow-up question.
Yeah, that's a good follow-up.
Well, I know a perfect one we talk about all the time. That's when in Terrifier 1, when Victoria, played by Samantha Scafidi, stabs Dave in the foot and then runs away, and Dave gives her the finger. That wasn't in the script. That wasn't even in the take.
No.
Samantha was coming back into the shot, and Dave just gave her the finger, but the camera was still rolling. So everybody laughed on set. And then when I was watching the footage, when I was cutting the scene, like I saw it again, and I'm like, oh, if that got a laugh on set, maybe it'll get a laugh in the movie. So I'll keep that in. And it was like she actually walked into that shot. So I had to digitally remove some of her to get that shot of Dave giving her the finger as she was running away, which people don't even know about. But yeah, so that's one of those things. Like that was just Dave being Dave. And I was like, yeah, that works. And you know, that's a little like on the nose and a little too goofy for Art the Clown. I would never say, oh, he gives her the finger, but it just worked. It was one of those things, and you know, you keep it in. Another one of those wonderful surprises.
We do a lot of experimentation on set too. It's like we'll do some serious takes, and sometimes Damien's like, Dave, just play around now, see if you can come up with anything else. I'm like, okay. So we have options there. Yeah,
all the time. Yeah, it's great.
All right, here's the next question. This is from Vanessa. Was there a particular clown character growing up that got you interested in developing a clown character?
Oh, yeah. For me, that's easy. It's the Joker.
The Joker, huh? Okay.
Oh, yeah. He's my favorite villain of all time. So I'm like, he's like my ultimate dream role to play one day. So yeah.
Do you have a favorite interpretation of the Joker?
Oh, that's easy. Mark Hamill. By far. I think he totally, just with his voice, he's been able to truly encapsulate the whole mentality of the Joker and everything he's supposed to be.
I love, he's next level. Absolutely. Yeah. What about you, Damien?
Well, like I said, I always loved, Tim Curry. We actually talked about that. I saw on your feed that you interviewed Tim Curry, and I freaked out because he's one of my heroes. More from Rocky Horror and Clue than it, honestly, and Legend. But so yeah, I always was just a massive fan of Tim Curry. I would watch anything he was involved in. So I loved. I mean, I remember watching it on television live when it aired. I mean, it was a big deal. I was a little kid when it came out.
It was like a 2-part movie, right?
It was on for 2 days. Yeah. And the scene in the sewer was scary as shit back then. Like I remember me and my sister being freaked out by that. The scene in the sewer when even in the very beginning when you see, when he kills the little girl and you just see like the sheet going by his face and he goes from happy to just like sinister in like 2 seconds. There was like great stuff. Like you didn't have a lot of great killer clown things back then. And the movie Clown House was very creepy. So I saw that. So I would say those two. And I modeled the look of Art the Clown a little bit off of this clown character in a Twilight Zone episode called 5 Characters in Search of an Exit, because the Twilight Zone is my favorite show of all time. So there's a little, if you see that, there's a little similarities between Art and this clown in that. So that's where it came from.
Now I have to go back and watch that.
Yeah, check it out. You'll see it's pretty cool.
I'll add it to the list. All right. Here's the next question. Oh, from Spanglenut. Hi, Spanglenut. What was your guys' inspiration to get into acting and filmmaking? From Spanglenut.
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 A weird evolution of a Pokemon character.
Yeah. It's Pokemon for adults.
Yeah. Your go.
Let's see. So mine is the special effects artist Tom Savini. Got me into special effects first, and then that led into my love of filmmaking. And then once I got serious into filmmaking, it was, Martin Scorsese, David Lynch, David Cronenberg, John Carpenter, George Romero, just Quentin Tarantino. Like when I was in 8th grade, our 8th grade yearbook, they asked if you could be somebody famous, who would you be? And it's Quentin Tarantino. Like that's how obsessed I was with him back then, because that was just when Pulp Fiction came out. So that was a perfect time to get serious into filmmaking, because he turned the whole filmmaking world upside down when that came out. So yeah, I'm so many inspirations from everywhere. So from the most, places you would never even imagine. So endless. And
what about you, David?
I would say it was the film Who Framed Roger Rabbit for me, because I was obsessed with the film when it first came out. I think it's like, to me, it's the perfect film ever made. It's got everything I love in it. But on top of that, they released a 1-hour special on TV that showed how they made the movie. And it was the first time I ever seen how a movie had been made. So I was enthralled with that. And that was how I was also introduced to Mel Blanc, who did all the voices for Looney Tunes. So I was like, oh my God, this one guy does all of these voices. That is so cool. And I had already started at that point in my life. I was about 2nd grade at the time. I had already just discovered I could do a few voices like Goofy and Donald Duck. And I was like, I want to learn how to do more. And so that's when I really started to try to cultivate that skill of mimicry. And because of that film did so many things to start things off in my life. So, yeah.
Well, I love knowing the fact that you can do all these voices, yet for Art the Clown, you're doing this. Like, you're just basing everything on your expressiveness.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting.
It's ironic.
All right, let's get to the next one. Rough Man. All right, I'm liking these names. Here we go. Does Damien have a project finish tradition for when you're done with the project, like Captain and Coke or cigar? I think.
I do now. I'm definitely going to break out the Captain and Coke. You know what? It's unfortunately I don't, because I don't think I've ever made a movie where there was like a final day where it's like, all right, we're done. Like it kind of just peters out, and then like a month later, it's like I'll get like a skeleton crew to go and get pickups and this and that, and before you know it, it's like, yeah, by the way, guys, we're wrapped. I hope that doesn't happen.
I rapped 4 times on part 1.
Exactly. So, it started with like this nice cake and everybody clapping. The 4th time, it's like, Dave, get the fuck out of here. It's like,
here's a Pringle.
I'm gonna say you don't get like multiple cakes. I would keep shooting to get more cakes.
Yeah.
I need that in my next contract.
Yeah, it went down to like a bag of chips.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm a Cheeto.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the next question. From Josh, normal name. Which horror movie has scarred you for life?
That's a good question.
Showgirls. No, let's see. God.
Scarred you for life.
Scarred me for life. God, I have to really think about that one.
You know what's crazy? I mean, when I was a kid, The Exorcist really, that was the only one that would freak me out. Even when I was already way into just obsessing over and just, worshiping Jason, Freddy, all the usual suspects. The Exorcist, there was still something different about that movie that creeped me out. You felt like it was almost real. So, but scarred me for life. I don't know about that. But, I actually recently tried. I still haven't seen Cannibal Holocaust. And I tried watching it because it's one of those movies you should just see as a horror fan, let alone filmmaker. And there's just something about that movie I tried watching it. I can't watch it. It's just, there's something so disgusting about it, especially there's real animal brutality in it and stuff. Sure. And it's just like, I was like, I'll watch it. But like, if I see that coming up, I'll fast forward through it. I couldn't even get into it. So
wow,
I would say that scarred me.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say this one really scarred me, but it had an effect on me as a kid. It was Poltergeist. It's because I remember my parents were having a viewing of it at our house when it came out on VHS, and I snuck out of my room to try to sneak in and watch it. And it was, a lot of it just freaked me out. It's like the scene where the little girl's pulled into the TV. My mom used that on me because she heard, because I went, ah! And they're like, oh. So she knew I saw it. And so I used to sit in front of the TV a lot and block the TV as a kid. And my mom told me, like, well, if you sit in front of the TV, you're going to get pulled into the TV like that little girl in Poltergeist. I'm like, she's like, that was real. That really does happen, David. And I'm like, oh. And so for years, I'm not talking like a month or so, for years, I would avoid the front of the TV. I would like walk around it because I was so afraid of being pulled in. And like one time I was like, I'm going to try to see if this really works. I think I was maybe like 4th grade. So, I mean, I was like 10 years old. I was like still believing it at that age. I mean, I already knew that Santa was not real, but I was still believing this.
That counts.
Oh yeah, my mom was a master of that kind of stuff. She was like, oh, that's psychological warfare. Oh yeah. My God.
Well, I'm very thankful you have not been pulled inside of a TV, but
me too.
The day is young. So, all right. Here's the next question from Crystal. Oh, what goes in the bowl first, cereal or milk?
Cereal.
Yeah, I'm weird. I actually don't put milk in my cereal, and it goes back to when I was a kid. I had to be on a no sugar diet because I had a chemical imbalance, but they didn't realize it at the time, and so they just thought I had too much sugar in me. So, and apparently milk has natural sugars or something like that. So I couldn't have real milk. I had to drink goat's milk. And so I just grew up not putting milk in my cereal, and I've just. It kind of repulses me to like. I'm like, I don't like that idea of wet cereal. I'm like, ugh.
So just dry cereal.
Yeah, just dry cereal.
And then I guess the follow-up question is, what about art?
Oh, that would be blood.
Blood. So, but would it be the blood or the cereal first?
Oh, it would be the cereal. Then you have to pour the blood in.
Right. You got to get the right mix of blood and cereal.
Yeah.
Delicious.
All right. Oh yes, and nutritious.
High in protein. All right.
Oh,
Next question. Okay, Brian wants to know if Art the Clown had a horror showdown like Jason versus Freddy, who would the perfect matchup for him be?
I think Freddy or Michael Myers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Honestly, yeah. He kind of has the. No, I think because he kind of has the personality of Freddy. His physicality is a little closer to Freddy's and Michael Myers. Like Jason's such a brute, I think. I don't know. Yeah. I don't really think about that too much, but I mean, off the top of my head, I would say those two.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you, David?
I would say this is more of an obscure character that a lot of people aren't familiar with, but I think there's someone out there that truly love this. Shout out is Billy Pond himself. It's like the character from his film Circus of the Dead, Papa Corn. I think that would be an interesting showdown between the two of them because they're so much alike in a lot of ways, but in different in a lot of ways too. But they both love to just mess with people, so that would be a nice battle of wits between the two of them.
Oh, all right. I like that. Battle of the Minds. All right. We have time for a few more questions, so we'll try to get through as many as possible. Michelle wants to know, okay, this is for you, Damien. Would you ever do a cameo in any of your movies?
I actually have a cameo in Terrifier 2. And if you can spot it, I'll give you $1 million.
Yep.
Is that a challenge?
No, because I don't have $1 million, but good luck finding it. But yes, I would. And I literally do in Terrifier 2, but it's very hard to spot. But that's
brilliant. It's brilliant.
It's funny. I mean, I'm there. I'm clearly there, but it's still hard to spot.
I was staring right at it too, and I was just like, "Where?" He's like, "Do you not see?" I'm like, "No."
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know. I feel like a lot of people now are kind of putting together all the spoilers that y'all have said so far for the next movie. So I feel like that's something they can add to their next video. Is Damien has a cameo? I
got a cameo. We're the worst, by the way. I think we give a lot of shit away. We do.
Yeah.
But that's cool. I like it. I like letting the fans know. I want to give them so much. I'm the worst. I'm the most impatient person. I want to release pictures every day, video, everything. I'm constantly fighting with Phil that we got to withhold things until we're closer to being finished.
So is Phil the person like holding you back and saying, "Come
on."
on.
Yeah. Okay. Phil's the voice of reason. I'm like, yeah.
And that's saying a lot too.
All right.
Love you, Phil. He's like, "Fuck you, David."
Exactly. He definitely is saying that.
All right. Here is our next question, and it is from Dan. Did you keep anything from the set? I'm assuming this is for you.
Sure.
Yeah. And Damien?
Yeah, plenty of stuff. Plenty of stuff. Yeah. But I mean, is he talking about Terrifier 1? Did you keep anything from Terrifier 1, Dave?
No, I didn't.
No, right?
I don't think so. No. I did. I can't reveal what it is on here, but I think a lot of us picked up this little trinket here or there on the set that one day right before the quarantine. So I picked up one of those. I was like, yeah, this is a nice memento.
Yeah, I think we were a lot more naive and careless on the first movie, whereas we're more conscious about keeping things and having things, be considered more collectible and whatnot nowadays. Yeah. The only thing I have from the first movie, I think I have Dawn's costume, and we have the original 2 art costumes that we still used in this one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Maybe his top hat and things like that, but everything fucking disappears. We're terrible.
Oh, no. All right, so we have time for maybe 1 or 2 more questions. So let's get this next one from Jeff. Were there any scenes from the first movie that you feel didn't get enough credit or are underrated in terms of special effects?
That's a good question.
That is a good question.
It really is. An underrated scene in the first movie. I don't know, but I think Phil would say an overrated scene is the pizzeria scene. Isn't that Phil killed me when I was cutting that scene? He was like, "This fucking scene goes on forever." He was like, "You gotta cut shit out of that scene," and I actually did. The scene's like probably a minute or so shorter. And then when the movie came out, he's like, "People love that fucking scene." He's like, "I don't get it. It goes on and on." He's like, "The movie doesn't start." He's like, "We need to just get to the action to start killing people." So I don't know, but
I like the pizzeria scene.
No, the pizzeria scene. Besides the hacksaw scene, it's the pizzeria scene. Like that was an important scene to establish Art the Clown as a character and him just messing with these girls, and like you see the most personality with Art in that scene. I think it's my favorite scene in the movie. For sure.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I would say the one I think sometimes gets a little bit underrated is like the scene between me and the homeless woman down there when I've got the baby. I think there's like a lot of people read a lot too much into it, but some people don't read enough into it. There's so much going on in that scene, and there's so many things that could be implied that might not be implied. I think that's it's a great little scene there too, and it's like, and I think Puya did such a fantastic job in that scene too. It's like, oh, she was just great. I'm like, oh wow, she was making me even feel sad on set. I'm like, oh man, you're kind of making me
I remember writing that and just being like, this is the weirdest fucking thing I ever wrote, and then filming it and being like, this is the weirdest I've ever felt.
It's such a creepy scene. It's just so creepy. It's
two people out of their so much going on. Two characters who are completely out of their minds. Yeah. Just working off of each other. It's pretty interesting. Yeah.
All right. So I think this might be our last question, time permitting. So let's see what we got from Art for President. All right. What weapon is the most scary from Art's bag? With a lot of question marks.
Oh, scariest weapon.
Scariest weapon.
Damn. I think your hacksaw is probably at your most iconic right now, so to speak. I don't like using the word iconic. That's not for me.
I know.
But I mean, you gotta. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking the flail.
Oh, the flail! Hell yeah!
The flail. I think that's his iconic weapon. I think that's his scariest weapon because that's one thing a lot of people haven't really picked up on is like what the flail is made out of.
Right.
It's just like not just the pieces of all the metal all hanging off of, but what's connecting it all. And it's like it's so obscure, but it's the hair of his victims.
Yeah.
That he's made those ropes out of.
Right, exactly. You only see it real. I tried to get a close up of the braids in the first Terrifier when it's on the floor, but you wouldn't know that's what he's made it from. I actually got that from finding out about the character Boba Fett in Star Wars, that he actually had. You see braids on his on his shoulder, and those are Wookiee braids of trophies of Wookiees that he's killed. That was just like this little tidbit that I read when I was a kid collecting the toys, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I'm gonna use that one day. And then there you go. And now that's Art's flail. So yeah, I think that's a good choice. I would say the gun is also pretty scary. You never know he's going to pull that out, and that of course is the most polarizing thing about Art the Clown, I would say, right?
Yeah.
To use the gun or to not use the gun, Dave?
That is the question.
That's the question, right?
Well, since we are almost at time, do you guys have any final thoughts that you want to leave us with? Maybe another spoiler? Not too many, of course, but just anything that you want to leave us with here today.
No, I can't give out any more spoilers, I don't think.
That's all right.
Feel you.
We'll be patient.
Yeah. But no, just as always, I want to thank all the fans for their amazing continued support, just getting tattoos, doing artwork. Every day it's so amazing to find these things on Instagram. It's just, you have no idea what it means to us when we see that. So that's amazing. And we're still working our asses off to finish part 2 and to get it out to you. I'm trying to get this first teaser out to you guys as soon as possible. So that's going to be the next big thing coming out. So yeah, but we're working on it. It's coming. It's all coming. Don't worry, and it'll be worth it.
Yeah. I second everything you said there, especially the big thank you to all the fans, just because you guys that have made this all possible. It's just like it's mind blowing. It's absolutely mind blowing, the power of the fan base, because I'm like, especially that, when we came out, we didn't have a big huge studio behind us putting all that money into publicity, and so it was the fans' word of mouth that got us out there, and that's what helped us get picked up by Netflix, which really helped us explode more. And it's all the fans, and then all the independent reviewers, and like the podcasts and all that kind of stuff. That's really what's helped us out so much, and it shows how important the fan base really is. And so don't think you guys are not heard. You are heard.
Definitely.
We love you.
And we are fans. We're all from the same pool. So it's like, we're just, people hanging out with people. That's all it is. Like, we talk to everybody who, as much as we can, who reaches out to us, who DMs us or whatever. That's the most important thing, is just like, stay in touch with your fans and just be cool with them. Be grateful. We're so grateful. Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much. So before we wrap this up, I just want to remind everybody to go to GalaxyCon.com. There's still time to get video shout outs and autographs, and also some of our upcoming events. This weekend, we have the cast members from Star Trek, The Next Generation. That's on Saturday, the 20th. Wow. And then, and on Sunday, the 21st, we have the voices of Princess Jasmine, Prince Eric, and Nemo. So
good luck to those Star Trek guys following this up.
I know, gosh.
Unbelievable.
Well, once again to you, Damien and David, thank you guys so much for joining us, and I hope to see you guys in person real soon. And I'm
absolutely
so excited
you
for
too.
Terrifier too.
Heather, you're the best. Seriously,
Thank
thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll see you guys soon. And all right, guys, GalaxyCon.com. Go check it out. Have a good one, guys.